Hello everyone and welcome back to Transfer Weekly. This now episode number 4, and this is going to be by far our biggest episode of season number 2. I'm your host, Chris McCarthy. A pleasure to welcome another brand new guest, one from the Feeder Series team. I welcome to the team our Euro Formula Open editor, Juan Arroyo. Juan, thank you very much for joining us on the show. Great to have you.
Happy to be here, Chris. Thank you for having me.
We got some ex-Euro Formula Open drivers and an ex-Euro Formula Open commentator like myself, now the man who commentates on Formula 1 for BBC 5 Live. Pleasure to have you back. Harry Benjamin, welcome to the show.
We'd both be nothing without Euro Formula Open. So big up EFO.
Of course. And of course, man who commentated on Formula 3 this year as well. So great to have you with us, Harry. A lot of a lot of drivers jumping up from Formula 3. You've got a lot to get through. 9 Formula 2 transfers in this and some FRECA transfers as well. I want to start though, Harry, with yourself talking about the Formula 2 season finale. We crowned our 7th modern Formula 2 champion in Matteo Pourchaire. What did you make of his title this year? I mean, had a close fight with Frederik Vesti, came in as the reigning vice champion, so had to get it done, didn't he? What did you make of his performance throughout the season?
Yeah, he had to win it, really, I think, this season. And I mean, I was watching the final race in the commentary box, just on the edge of my seat, seeing how far could Vesti get up the field, could Pourchaire. They even had an on-track battle at one point, which was fantastic, as the way it should be for an F2 season finale. But it's funny, isn't it? We always say consistency is key in these junior formulas. One win, that's it. And he managed to take the title compared to, Vesti had a couple of sprint races, couple of feature race wins. So, it was a well put drive. It's a case of, you've got to be quick, but if you aren't able to score those big points and after that win at the start of the season in Bahrain, Pourchaire had a bit of a bad run, didn't he, through Saudi Arabia and until he managed to get back onto the podium in the feature race for Australia. Yeah. But if you aren't able to score those big points, you've got to be able, all those big podiums, you've got to be able to be banking the points. And Pourchaire did just that. It's a crying shame that the Formula 2 champion doesn't automatically get a seat in Formula 1. We still, at the time of recording, we still don't know where he's going to go. There's rumors of Super Formula. He's part of, obviously, the Sauber Academy. So we'll see what they do with them. Audi, of course, are going to be coming into that brand in the next couple of years. So does that have an effect for Pourchaire? Will they be looking at him going, oh, we'd quite like a nice young driver to kind of mold for the Audi brand? He had to get it done. Great job for him. He needed that. The 7th modern F2 champion, and just a lovely man. That post-race interview was just so wholesome. So I don't think I would have been happy with Vesti or Pourchaire winning, but I think the right man won at the end of the day,
and a great celebration as well. I think it's fair to say, jumping on his car, he was ready for it. Got all the photographers ready as well, saying that the celebration is coming. I did love that one as well. And congratulations to the F4 UAE trophy winner, Kinu Al-Azari as well. It was good to see Freddie Slater out there on the podium as well. I think we're going to mention him in this show over the years to come. All right, let's get into the transfers, and we've got a lot to get through. We're going to be doubling up in this show because there's so many to go through. We've got 9 to go through in F2. Let's start over at Invicta Virtuosi Racing, who confirmed their lineup for 2024 this week. And with that, they announced the reigning Formula 3 champion, Gabriel Bortoleto, who's going to be racing for them next season, along with Kush, Maini, who stays in the championship and switches over to Virtuosi. So, Harry, coming back to you for this brand new lineup for Virtuosi this season. I mean, they had a mixed season this year, it's fair to say. Of course, they took Jak Doohan to 3rd, but Amaury Cordeel really struggling with them. But they bring in the Formula 3 champion in Gabriel Bortoleto. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on him next year.
Absolutely. I mean, where did Bortoleto come from? When he came into F3, he wasn't one of those touted. You look at his career, he wasn't setting the world alight in Formula Regional, I think it's fair to say. But he just had an absolute blinder in F3 season because he's backed by Fernando Alonso's management team and now involved and being brought into the McLaren driver development program, which is an absolute win-win for Gabriel Bortoleto. He must be absolutely flying. So the beauty of next season is with F2, is we can't really call it. We've got obviously a new car, and it's kind of balance the books, you know. Oh god, that's a horrible phrase, never say that again, that's UK politics right there. But it's very much, you know, it sets everything on an even keel, and we have a lot of junior champions stepping up, Bortoleto being one of them. F2 is going to be absolutely brilliant next season. Bortoleto, I think, could really be a man to lead that team as well. I think you know, if he can hit the ground running, it's going to be challenging for sure, because there is a lot of good people around in the Formula 2 paddock next season. So it's going to be a challenge for Bortoleto, but I'm excited for him, and I hope he does well. I think he will do well. The momentum he'll be carrying from F3 will see him go well.
No, you're absolutely right. It was a season that kind of came out of nowhere, wasn't it? But first Brazilian champion off the back of when Felipe Drogovic, of course, won the Formula 2 title as well. So a lot of buzz in Brazil currently in the feeder series. Juan, we haven't forgotten about you. Let's come to you next then, because Dams confirmed one of their drivers for next season. They have signed the American in Jak Crawford, who switches over to them for 2024, makes the switch over from high-tech Pulsate. Maybe not the best of seasons with them. He's confirmed as well that he's no longer going to be with the Red Bull junior team as well. What do you think of this one then, going over to Dams? I mean, they've always been competitive in F2. Do you think it's a good move for Jak?
Well, obviously, Jak Crawford is an interesting case this year. It'll be his first season since 2020 that he's no longer part of the Red Bull system. He's been with them since F4, then the Euro Formula Open, FIA F3, and then Formula 2. And within all this, we can't forget that he's still just 18 years old. So next year, he will be one of the youngest drivers on the grid, still with 1 year of Formula 2 behind him. So he has shown potential throughout his junior series career that he can do good things in the right car. In fact, this year, won the Red Bull Ring Sprint, took pole in Sandboard, and 5 podiums. So certainly can do good things in the right car. Now that he's joining Dams, a team that, again, has potential if they're led by the right driver. I'll use Yumo Iwasa as an example. 4th in the championship this year and fought for the title much of the year. Now, as for Jak, there is room for improvement in the feature races. It's true that majority of his points came from sprints this year, but still, he managed to beat fellow ex-Red Bull Junior team member Isack Hadjar in high-tech. So lots of potential next year. Interesting to see what he can do in Dams.
Yeah, I mean, he took that win at Red Bull Ring, but it seemed a mutual decision to leave the Red Bull Junior team. At least that's how he put it, to kind of take the pressure off and slow the pace down on his way up. So, yeah, I'll be interested to see how Jak Crawford goes there. Signed for Dams, and he's been testing with Juan Manuel Carres. It could be an all-American lineup over at Dams next year. Harry, let's come back to you then, because Campos Racing, very, very exciting lineup for them for 2024. They have confirmed both Isack, Hadjar, and Pepe Martí to race for them in 2024. 2 Red Bull Juniors, one who stays in Formula 2 in Isack Hadjar, who comes over from high-tech Pulsate, and Pepe Martí, who was challenging for the title this year in Formula 3, who's been with Campos ever since he started racing in single-seaters. Let's start by talking about Isack Hadjar. I mean, he's always been very competitive. We both know him from Formula 3 last year as well, jumped in and was straight off the bat fighting for the title. Maybe didn't go to plan for him this year. What do you think of him over at Campos? Do you think that's a good move?
I think so. I think perhaps, well, the one, every time I think of Isack Hadjar, all I can think of is Scream over the radio in qualifying in Monza in the F3 finale, where he put it into the gravel, and that was pretty much qualifying done and dusted for him. But look, there's no doubt about it. Hadjar is quick. Red Bull wouldn't, Red Bull have had a bit of a culling at the end of this season, I think it's fair to say, and they wouldn't have kept him around if they didn't think he had something. They wouldn't have given him an AlphaTauri and a Red Bull F1 seat time. So they clearly believe in him and his pace. I think, yes, true. Along like Crawford, he struggled this season, but I think he seems to be picking up, or has picked up a little bit of momentum in Abu Dhabi for certain, and a new team, fresh faces. He'll also be the experienced runner, I suppose, in terms of Formula 2, alongside Pepe Martí, who is no slouch either. Pepe Martí is quick as he's a really good overtaker as well. I think of Melbourne this season in Formula 3, where he came from the back, and I think he overtook 20-something cars. I can't remember the exact
number. It was last to 7th or something like that, wasn't it?
It was
one of the overtakes of the
ridiculous.
Season. Yeah.
It was classic Formula 3. And where did he end up in the stand? He 5th, didn't he, at the end of the F3 standings, not far away from, Colapinto in front and Paul Aron. So in and around that mix for the title, as you said. So I think Martí Hadjar could be a really feisty duo next year. Could be what Campos need as well to push them forward a bit more.
Yeah, because they've always gone well in F3, F2, maybe not all the time. So this could be something that really boosts them up the order. Of course, you would have been talking over Isack Hadjar in the F1 cars as well. How did he get on from your point of view? Do you think that's given him the confidence boost he needs to lead this team next year?
Quite possibly. I mean, it's daunting prospect, isn't it? Getting into a Formula 1 car. I mean, and in Abu Dhabi, Red Bull replacing both drivers with Jake Dennis in Verstappen's seat and Hadjar in for Perez. So, which I think is absolutely brilliant. But of course that gives you confidence, and I think the good feedback. Christian Horner was very complimentary of both of them, and that's your chance, isn't it? And I think for Hadjar in particular, to have had the AlphaTauri time in Mexico, wasn't it? And then to also have had Red Bull time to get a difference in not only two completely different Formula 1 cars, to be able to adapt to that, but also to be able to perform in Abu Dhabi like he did in F2 as well, because it's a hard ask to jump from Formula 1 then back down to F2 and try and get your head in the game, run round to the support pits, get in your F2 car and then put in a performance. So I think that should give him confidence. I hope it does.
Yeah, we'll see how he gets on. He shot up the order very quickly, but I guess next year they have to learn this car all over again, don't they? So it's going to be a really interesting challenge for them. Let's come back to yourself, Juan, then, because another team who revealed their lineup was Rodin Carlin. One we kind of knew was coming. Ritomo Miata was confirmed to be on the grid. We suspected that would be at Rodin Carlin. That has been confirmed, and they've also confirmed they are keeping Zane Maloney to lead the charge for them next year as well. He stays with them, finished 10th overall in his debut season. 4 podiums, had that dramatic crash whilst fighting for the podium with Frederik Vesti in the last race. But the boy from Barbados, Juan, is going to be back. What do you think? Do you think this is going to be a title contender next year? I mean, Rodin Carlin kind of out of position, I think it's fair to say, this season. Do you think next year we're going to see him back at the front?
So, I mean, on Maloney's side, it wasn't the most representative of years. He has had a good career, good junior career, fighting for wins throughout, most recently in F3 in 2022. This year, we saw glimpses of what he could do. He showed speed in Bahrain, in Monaco, Silverstone, Sandboard, even last weekend in Abu Dhabi, where unfortunately he did have that dramatic crash. But he was taking it to the front runners, and he was just missing that one win this year to really say he has the potential to do great things next year in 2024. The thing with Maloney is he did have periods where it all came crashing down mid-season. You could say the period between Catalunya and Abu Dhabi, 8 rounds where he only had 4 points finishes, which frankly, there is room for improvement on the consistency side. The highs are very high, but the lows are very low. So he does have the potential to do great things, but there are those periods where he has to eliminate those non-points finishes. He will be paired with Miata, obviously, Super GT and Super Formula reigning champion that we will have on the grid in 2024. So at the risk of this biting me in the back, I will say that this is one of the dark horse lineups for 2024.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a champion in there, and as you said, Zane Maloney, who's going to be coming in with some experience now, so that could be a really dangerous lineup. But of course, Stephanie Carlin is off to McLaren, which was confirmed just hours before we recorded this as well. So congratulations to her. There's going to be a bit of a change behind the scenes there. Let's go back then to another team. We're staying with F2. We've still got more to get through. This will be our final one to cover, and that is over at High Tech Pulse 8, another team who has got a brand new lineup for this year. They take one driver from another other team, which is going to be Amaury Cordeel, who switches over from Invicta Virtuosi Racing. A pretty disappointing season for him this year, 20th in the standings. And then they are bringing up a very exciting signing in Paul Aron, who finished third in Formula 3 this year with Prema. No longer a Mercedes junior, but he will want to come in and fight for the title. Harry, I mean, what did you make of watching Paul this year in Formula 3? I mean, fought for the title all pretty much near to the end. Doesn't have that Mercedes backing anymore, but he'll want to come in and fight for this title straight away, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, curious one about the Mercedes tie now. It's a shame because, you know, finished top 3 in his first season in F3, makes the jump up to F2. You know, I don't know, maybe Aron just kind of, even though he wasn't that fight, he had a tendency to maybe just hide away in the background. He didn't really quite take as much notice of him as perhaps some of the other drivers. But I mean, he had a better final sort of stint to the season than Zach O'Sullivan did. So interesting there. I wonder what's gone on. Taking a bit of a risk as well, perhaps for Paul Aron going to high tech. They weren't exactly setting the world alight with their overall constructors position at the end of the day. So, but they are a good running high tech. You know, there's a lot of investment coming into that team as well. So with a young upstart from Paul Aron, could be a really nice signing. And Amaury Cordeel, I mean, we've seen glimpses of pace there. He's becoming a bit of a veteran Formula 2 driver.
Yes.
So, you know, it's high tech have gone for a little bit of experience, a little bit of young, fresh, eager talent, which seems to be a little bit of the going rate at the moment in F2. So we'll see how that one pans out. But Paul Aron, I think, hoping he can re-secure some F1 backing, because I think he's one of the drivers that deserves it.
Yeah, I agree. I think Paul Aron will be the one that leads that team as well.
Yeah, I think so.
He's got quite a personality, isn't he? But it was weird because Amaury Cordeel finished very strong at the end of 2022 and then just kind of disappeared at the start of this season and then re-emerged at the end again. I guess it's just a case of finding some consistency for him.
Yeah, I mean, 2 8th places in the whole of 2023, and they didn't even come till the end of the year. A few collisions as well. When your teammates he's got to have he's got to have a big upturn in performance. But this is motorsport, and money also chats, as we well know, and he's got a lot of it.
Yeah, well, we'll see how he gets on. Okay, I think we're done with F2. Let's go to FRECA, of course. Next, we do not forget about FRECA in this show. We had Santalok Racing sign 2 of their drivers, and Juan has covered Spanish F4, and that's where some of their drivers are coming up from. Santalok new for this season, and they're strengthening the team for next year. They have signed Matteo de Palo and Enzo Peugeot for next season. Juan, 2 drivers coming in with pretty good F4 experience. I mean, Percy Wolf, who covers this championship for us, tells me this could be the dark horse team for next year with this lineup. Do you agree with that?
I do. De Palo had a very good rookie year in Spanish F4, 1 win and 3 podiums. And especially, I think, has to be mentioned, consistency. Only 2 races out of the 21 in the entire season that he finished outside the points. He also did part-time campaigns in Formula Winter Series, British F4, Italian F4. Formula Winter Series particularly stronger than those other 2. Though they weren't really representative, they were experienced nonetheless, and entering a championship like FRECA, what you need most is solid experience. And on Enzo Peugeot's side, he's not a name you hear frequently mentioned, but he took the battle to Evan Gilter in the final F4 French race. And just 2 seasons in single-seater racing. We haven't seen him race anywhere else, but he has been successful so far. Now, I think he will need to get over the hump that he hasn't seen any competition outside of French F4 and feed racing. So that suggests he might find the jump to FRECA a little bit more difficult than De Palo. Again, Formula Regional is a notoriously difficult car and championship to get used to. But if we want to look at past examples, Esteban Masson, a previous French F4 champion, was with Santalok Racing in FRECA in 2023. Part-time campaign, 4 points finishes, and a podium in 6 rounds for him. So maybe that will shine a little bit of light on how these 2 drivers will do. Certainly a lot of potential.
Yeah, looking back as well, he beat Alessandro Giusti to the French karting title, which I like that one, given how well he done as a driver this year. Harry, I I think we're pretty much done there with transfers now. I just want to get your opinions on a couple things. We'll be back to you in a sec, Juan. One of them being about the World Endurance Championship, because we're saying goodbye, it seems, to a couple of our feeder series drivers, maybe for the time being. One of them being a champion in Gregoire Saucy, who won the FRECA title in 2021, and then Alex Garcia, who raced in F3 next year. They're both going over to the World Endurance Championship. Gregoire into a McLaren in the GT3 class, and then Alex Garcia into a brand new hypercar, it seems, as well. This is when the provisional entry list came out. I mean, what do you think? It's, of course, the World Endurance Championship is in a place at the moment where it's turning. A lot of people want to jump onto it. It seems, are we going to see more of this over the next couple of years?
I think so. I think everybody is now looking at World Endurance Championship and thinking, I want a piece of that pie, because I mean, I certainly do. Look at that hypercar grid for next season, and the overhauling of LMGT3 for next season. It's an exciting time to get involved with sports cars. And, you know, looking at the way up to Formula One, there are less and less opportunities. You know, the last time the F2 champion hasn't got straight into into Formula One since I can't remember when, since maybe 2018 was it, when we got the top three in the championship all made the step up. Since then they've all had to either have a year out and then go into Formula One or not. You know, Piastri, the most recent example, right? So where else do they go? Hello, World Endurance Championship. We've got some amazing manufacturers, top line manufacturers in Formula One, in World Endurance Championship, with Formula One links. So Ferrari tying in with their hypercar lineup, and that, you know, that's suddenly become an option maybe for the likes of, you know, remember Robert Schwartzman. You know, he needs to be making his way up through that, and he's, you know, still a part of Ferrari team, and this is now proving to be the way they can continue to carve out their career. For Gregoire Saucy, it hasn't happened for him in Formula 3 for whatever reason. It didn't work out, but he's joining United Autosport, which is a fantastic operation. They've got great links with McLaren and Zach Brown, who I believe is sort of some sort of co-owner of that team. And so that's a brilliant way for him to move his career forward. It's a different challenge to go into GT3s, but one I think he'll adapt to well. Alex Garcia, I mean, he's already been doing a lot of sports car activity anyway, in sort of LMP3 and junior prototype series. It's a big step to go out to hypercar. He's going in with a new team as well, and he's got some experienced drivers alongside him. I believe Jean-Carl Vernet is one of the drivers who will be alongside him in hypercar. But it's becoming the place to be. It's a golden era, and everybody wants in. Yeah,
just coming off the back of the Centenary, isn't it? I mean, Robert Kubica is going to be back.
Finally, a Ferrari contract at last.
And Nick De Vries has gone back as well with Toyota, taking the seat of Jose Maria Lopez, who's gone down to GT3. Very quickly then, let's come back to you, Juan. Kacper Sztuka was the latest Red Bull Junior. I mean, everyone is talking about this kid at the moment. He won the Italian F4 championship in pretty memorable fashion. Where do you think we're going to see him next? It seems yet to be decided. He did do a bit of F3 testing. Do you think that's where we maybe see him, or will it be FRECA, do you think?
I would reckon it would be Formula 3. I mean, everyone is talking about Sztuka, and rightly so. Red Bull are notorious for snatching up young drivers, and Sztuka was bound to catch at least one Formula One team's eyes with a comeback like that in the championship. And more to his credit than any of his rivals' discredit, winning 8 of the last 9 races and recovering from a gap of more than 100 points is frankly something out of a video game. It's been rightly recognized. So as for his future, Red Bull don't like to wait very long for juniors. They aren't very patient in progressing them up the ladder. So a safe prediction would be to say Sztuka does indeed land in FIA F3. He already appeared in FIA F3 postseason testing in Imola with MP Motorsport in October, which is a hint of where he could land. But again, nothing is decided. FRECA and possibly Euro Formula Open, Red Bull Junior team are wary of these championships nowadays, since Noah Leon's campaign in FRECA in 2022. Sure. In the past, they would have preferred Euro Formula Open. Jak Crawford did Euro Formula Open at one time, but I don't think it would be a viable option today, especially with the low numbers on the grid. And with their style of management, seeing 8 of 9 wins in the last races of Italian F4, I don't think the Red Bull Junior team would consider that part of his career necessary, as opposed to just skipping straight to F3 and gaining experience there.
Good stuff. I totally agree with you there. Let's wait and see what happens. We'll give you all the updates on this show. We'll end with you, Harry, and Frederik Vesti, who announced he's leaving feeder series in general when he ended F2 as vice champion. Where does he go next? I think we've kind of talked about this already. Where do we see him? Is he going to be with headphones on the pit wall next year, jumping in at FP1? Do we think? I mean,
well, yeah.
or are we going to see him pop up somewhere else?
Well, I mean, if he can't get a race seat anywhere, for sure, he'll be in the back of the Mercedes garage with headphones on. That's for sure. If it weren't for a few bizarre moments throughout this year, he would have been F2 champion. And Super Formula seems to be an option these days. Where do Mercedes want to place him? I wonder if there's still a deal, and this could age badly. I wonder if there's still a deal to be done down for that final Williams seat. Still not confirmed for Logan Sargent yet. James Vowles says he's going to take his time to look through the data, see how much Sargent has improved. They like him, but is he good enough to be in that second seat where Williams want to challenge and move up the grid? Could Vesti be their guy? Do they want to take a Mercedes Junior? Of course, Vowles previously a part of heading up Mercedes Junior program, but now Williams are building their own quite feisty junior program with Colapinto and O'Sullivan a part of it. Does biffing off Sargent show a bit of lack of faith? It's a difficult one, but I wonder if there's maybe a power unit deal or something there to be done between Mercedes and Williams that could see Vesti in that second seat. If not, then my second guess is Super Formula, and if nothing else, it will be reserve driver role, filling in for a few FP1 sessions.
So it could be done. It could be done. We'll keep an eye on it for you. Thanks a lot, Harry. Thank you, Juan, as well. Look, we'll quickly go through some headlines. We've got Sanibel Incha Fuvazak joining PHM, Formula Regional Middle East. Cooper Webster is going to be racing Euro Cup 3 next year of Evans GP. Colin Queen has signed up to GB3 with Fortec. British F4 are going to Zandvoort. That's pretty cool as well. I like the sound of that one. F4 Saudi Championship is being launched as well in 2 weeks' time. And then F2 postseason testing. We're doing some videos on here, so keep an eye out for those. Guys, that's the end of the show. Harry, thanks a lot for joining us. Great work as well this year with F1. And we look forward to hearing more next year. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and join us.
Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, Juan. Great to be a part of the team, and well done yourself for the F3 and the F2 and the Porsches. That's the hard graft.
Thanks. And thank you, Juan. Thanks you for coming on the show. Make sure you come back and join us, mate.
Of course. Happy to be here anytime.
This has been Transfer Weekly, episode 4. Thank you for watching. We will see you again for episode 5. Bye-bye.